Warzone's coming season of content is absolutely shrouded in mystery with tons of theories, tons of speculation as to what's to come. Now, for me, as somebody that loves to theorize, that likes to take a look at what could happen, that's an absolute blast. But for many that want to just know what's going to happen, it might be hard to keep track of because there is so much stuff that pops up that points to different things in the future. So today I want to discuss a little bit further some of this new information that we ended up seeing about some data mined audio files as to the fate of what Season 2 could hold for Warzone and Verdansk. As we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you want to see happen in Warzone? Do you want to see a new map, the Nuke event, some continuation of Verdansk, whatever it may be? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. As well, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. We're on that road to 400,000 subscribers, and we'll keep you up to date with anything you need to know in regards to any of them. So if you're interested in joining the community, I'd love to have you. And finally, G Fueled Madness continues on. If you want to keep pushing and make the Espresso Shaker Cup a reality for public release, head on over to the link in the description below. Use code ESPRESSO for 30% off your entire purchase, and also tweet me a picture if you end up doing so. Love to shout out some of you guys in upcoming videos. That said, let's talk about what is up on deck here and what we learned as of recently. Now, before we get into it, as with all things leak related, just be aware that this could be a heavy spoiler territory. So if you want to jump into this with a clear head, assuming all of this unfolds how we think it will and how it looks to, this may not be the best video for you. But if you're interested in hearing what could be happening, proceed. But either way, be aware, we're talking about things that could definitely be spoilers. So a very, very brief recap here because we've mentioned it before. This season was marketed as The End Begins. We see from the official marketing and in-game materials for a lot of things pointing towards a nuke. We see the mushroom cloud in the official landing page for the Outbreak event. We have the introduction of the missile silos that were opened up, which have been, in Activision's own wording, described as nuclear missiles. And then we see more things in the audio files point towards all of this coming together. The real short and simple theory here for this is this. The Vodyanoi crashed into Verdansk, opening up the mainland to a zombies outbreak that was caused by the aether crystals transported on that ship. Right now, as of recording this video, only the shipwreck is contaminated, hence the scratches above the name on the TAC map. But if we look at any of those bunker consoles that showcase a skull with a percentage, that only looks to grow here in the coming weeks to months. The outbreak, nicely named with the event, spreads and then continues to infect many locations in Verdansk until we need to go nuclear, quite literally. And then boom, that's when everything goes off and that air quote nuke event comes into play. But we've talked about that before. So what's new? Turns out Twitter user Zesty Cod Leaks, linked down below, ended up picking up a few audio files, or should I say a ton of audio files, in relation to an upcoming game mode called Plague in the game files, which could be coming to Warzone. Now, I will say, is it possible this is cut content? Surely. But at the same time, this is almost exactly how we saw the Know Your History event happen. Audio lines data mined that were the audio that the announcers would say in relation to the number station broadcast and all things like that. We found that stuff well before the event, so it's quite possible this could be a round 2. That's what gives this a little bit more weight to me. The fact that we've seen this kind of all happen before. Now, naturally, I can't play the audio for you. It's still intellectual property of Activision and Call of Duty, but I can leave the link down there in the description below if you guys want to check out the entire 5 minutes of audio lines. That is, if it's still up by the time of this video being published. But what we end up hearing about firstly is a little bit about this mode called Plague, which by the sounds of it, seems like it's going to be like the zombies LTM that we had during the Haunting of Verdansk thing, where you can end up turning into a zombie and then your goal may be to hunt down other survivors, and maybe even in that same exact vein, just kind of reskinned for this new event here, which I'd be all for, honestly. As much as I like to see new things come, I really enjoyed that mode. That's probably up there as a top 3 in mine, outside of, say, BR200 and then Stimulus Quads. Outside of that, that is probably one of my favorite modes here that we've seen introduced within Warzone in the first year or so here. So that's something that I'd be all for, but it may be like that, or maybe like a cross between that where there's NPC zombies, like how we have in Shipwreck, but in a large quantities, because they mention in these audio quotes that we'll get to in a second that there are things called plague zones. So that might be just where zombies all are. Either way though, I'm intrigued. When we end up listening to this, if you check out some of these audio quotes, we learn of a few key audio lines. Firstly, it starts out with some plague specific things, like stay alert, you're getting close to a plague zone. Verdansk is overrun, take it back, don't turn into a zombie for Verdansk, we can't lose Verdansk, fight those zombies, this is the final hour, avoid the infected at all cost, and this is the final hour, avoid the plague. But then they start to get a little more vague and not necessarily just about a zombie or plague, such as last chance to cleanse Verdansk, soldier. This is our last chance to save Verdansk. This is the end. This is our final broadcast and Verdansk is lost. End it. until finally we hear that one audio cue and audio line that says it all. Extraction canceled, nuke inbound for Verdansk, you're on your own, soldier. Now, listen, I know that I am a huge geek when it comes to this kind of stuff, and this kind of stuff amps me up probably way more than it should, but that sounds incredible. Now, as always with this stuff, I'm skeptical. I mean, it's in the game files, yes, that's nice, but we've seen things in the game files that don't always pan out. And once again, when this sounds as cool as it does, my immediate reaction is to think kind of the skeptic side here of this. Like, okay, let's not get our hopes up just yet. This might not be entirely true. I need to verify elsewhere, right? And absolutely, I'm always like that. I want to cross-reference things and make sure that there's verifiable information, and most of the time we talk about stuff, there are multiple sources to end up pointing to that adds more weight to whatever we discuss. But at the same time, consider these two things. Number one, the rest of the video outside of those plague mode audio lines is talking about holding the radio and getting ready for extract. That is quite literally the mode that we just got with this week's update, the limited time mode of exfiltration in Warzone. The main goal of that is to find, pick up, and control that radio for extract, and if you do, you end up winning the match, even if you weren't the last man standing. And number two, this was introduced with Season 2. This wasn't something that looks to be legacy code. If it were, that would have been something that would have been in the game files for quite some time. That would have indicated some cut content if it was just there for a long time and nothing ever became of it, but instead, this is brand new to Season 2 game files. So while when we discuss something of this gravity, I'm absolutely skeptical just for the sake of not jumping to the immediate, oh my god, it's happening moment, but these two details are definitely making that hard not to. I also remember seeing somewhere, I can't remember off the top of my head where, there was a contract data mined for the Nuke event that people were thinking this was going to tie into, in which the contract details were to find 3 launch codes, decrypt them, and gain the Nuke kill streak. And then there were subsidiary lines that looked to happen as on-screen pop-ups of 10-minute warning, nuclear signature detected, 5-minute warning, nuclear warhead inbound, and then nuclear threat inbound, get out of there now. That was something that kind of in my mind when I first saw that, I immediately jumped back to the contracts of the Know Your History event, because that was something that you dropped into a game like normal, but you were tasked with finding certain items. You were tasked with finding clues and intel. You were tasked with finding the weapon and things like that. So that really still follows the same LTM sort of signature that we had with that, where you were tasked with doing something else. Now, granted, this kind of makes it seem like only one person will have access to it, or one squad will have access to it during that time, but that might be the final pieces here to the puzzle that take this theory and put it into practical use here, and that's something that has me incredibly excited. So for now, it's kind of a lot of a waiting game. There also was in the game files here, data mined, some interesting reference to the prospect of a sandbox mode, something that allowed you to do some different testing courses, training courses, racing courses, and things like that, that all seem to be linked to do whatever you kind of want sort of thing. So that'll be interesting if that actually comes. I'm curious to see if that would be something that is released as a standalone Warzone application, because I don't know how you could fit a sandbox mode into an LTM within Warzone right now, or just put it as a stable constant thing on the main menu. That just wouldn't really make a ton of sense to me with that, given that it's still tethered to Modern Warfare. So that might be the sort of push-off point where we see it go to a standalone application, but that's a different story for a different day. But that's where we're at here at this right now. Again, a lot of these things seem to start to come together right now, maybe painting the bigger picture that we see here come the end of Season 2 here in about a month and a half's time at this point. So that's where we're at with this. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. I am incredibly excited to see where we go here from this, so love to get your thoughts down below, but hopefully enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Warzone, Cold War, anything COD related. We got you covered here on the channel, so if you guys are interested in any of that, hit that subscribe button. If you also want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to check my conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.